Welcome to DIY Therapy. As always, we'll start with our disclaimer. This podcast is for educational purposes only. It is not designed to diagnose or treat. When beginning any exercise program, it should be reviewed and discussed with your medical professional prior to beginning. Information on this podcast is not designed to replace medical treatment. My name is Will. With me, as always, is Andy.
What's going on?
Not too much. Just getting ready to run some errands and do some other stuff. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm painting this morning, and I'm painting as we've kind of talked about. I bought a new house where my wife and I are doing a lot of renovating, and I'm not supposed to be doing like trim work because I'm not detail oriented, but I had surprised her and taped everything off this morning, and I'm planning on actually doing some of the trim work. The problem is, I had a cup of coffee on the floor with the carpet and spilled my entire cup of coffee all over the floor. So my good deed will probably be washed out by a giant stain of coffee on the carpet. So
nice.
I got that going for me this morning.
Nice.
Yeah, it's lovely.
I mean, you're getting rid of the flooring anyway, though, right?
Yeah, eventually, but I'm sure Mandy will not enjoy the eyesore that will be there until we actually get that stuff ripped out. So, so that's my morning. We're gonna try to get all that worked out today. So
that's exciting.
Yeah. All right. Well, what's the topic today?
Today we're talking about disc herniation and how it relates to back pain. If it relates to back pain, if it can fix itself. And some people seem to think patients seem to think it's always going to be out. And I know I've had conversations with patients before, and they'll tell me that they've had a MRI, and 6 years ago they had a disc out, so they know they have that going on. So we're going to talk about if that's actually a thing still or what. Yes, yeah. So, I think it's always important to kind of first understand, the anatomy of the back, and maybe even maybe taking a step backwards a little bit more. There's a lot of research out there that indicate that, low back discs, if bulging, herniated, will actually reabsorb over a period of time. And this is a big hot topic right now because many medical professionals don't feel like discussing in great detail a patient's MRI is in the best interest of the patient, as it creates fear, anxiety. There's a lot of misinformation that's out there on the internet regarding what is going to occur to you if you have a bulging disc or a herniated disc, and what your overall prognosis is, and that usually will create more fear for that individual and actually increase sensitivity levels of the back and maybe even increase pain just by hearing some more dangerous type of words being said from the medical professional. So this kind of goes back to some of the things that we're trying to, as a profession, kind of move towards in terms of educating patients that, yes, there are things that show up on MRIs. That does not mean that you'll actually have pain from that. In other words, it could be a complete miscellaneous finding. It could be something that, you have a disc herniation, or you have a bone spur, or you have X, Y, or Z that shows up on a diagnostic test, such as an X-ray or MRI, but those things are completely asymptomatic. That means,
yeah. There you go.
Asymptomatic means it's not causing you pain, essentially.
Yeah. So again, it always is really important to understand that, we have to correlate basically our diagnostic findings with our clinical presentation. So I think that's right away something that just needs to be addressed, is that, you're not your MRI, you're not your X-ray. If there's something that shows up on X-rays and MRIs, then, that could be a problem, but it most likely isn't. In fact, there's a ton of research out there that indicates that most individuals over the age of about 25, 30 are going to have some kind of finding on an MRI for their low back pain. Or low back in general, and these people don't necessarily have actual symptoms. So I think that's kind of some of the background of where some of these new studies are coming out. And so I think starting back in about 2015 all the way up to just this past year, there's been a lot of research being focused on, or a lot of papers that have recently been published that are looking at trying to determine when and how often disc bulges and disc herniations get reabsorbed into the body. It's always been kind of...
Yeah, explain that. So it's when people talk about bulging discs, basically when we're saying reabsorb, it basically just means it's not going to be bulging anymore.
Yeah, so on an MRI, when you start to take a look at an MRI, what they're looking for is symmetry in the disc. So they'll take kind of a side view of the picture of the spine, and they'll look to see along that side view on the back end of the spine if that disc is actually pushing out into an area where it should not. So a bulging disc is where the membrane of the disc is actually still intact, and and there isn't quite so much damage. And a herniated disc is actually when the membrane is not intact, and they can see these things on MRIs. It's always been kind of long understood and kind of known throughout the medical community that bulging discs naturally reabsorb and can heal over a period of time. I think starting in about 2015, maybe 2014, there's been a lot of research that has indicated that even a herniated disc, where there's actually a rupture to that membrane, can almost can spontaneously or on their own get reabsorbed to the body and heal. And this goes back to the question that we have, that almost everybody has, is, well, if there's damage to that disc, if there's damage to that part, do I need surgery because will it ever heal on its own? And the answer to this at this point is in the majority of people, yes. I think some of the data goes from anywhere from about 66% all the way up to like 80%, depending on whether it's a disc bulge or disc herniation. So, and the likelihood of it actually getting reabsorbed into the body and healing is actually fairly high. So this goes back to some people having kind of this negative thought pattern of, the moment that I hear bulging disc, herniated disc, I can't heal unless I have surgery, and that's just not the case. And that's something that I think we need to, kind of
You're also not. I was gonna say you're also not broken.
Yes, that's exactly it. You're not broken, and you can heal as long as you're continuing to do things that are, positive for the back.
And the small caveat is, as we talked about with healing time last time, is you have to be patient. This is going to take 4 to 6 months.
Yeah. I think the other thing that is important to understand is, so a disc is what we consider avascular, okay? Avascular is defined by a tissue that does not have a direct blood supply, okay? And so the disc is actually, the disc does receive a blood supply, but it's through osmosis and kind of a...
Ooh, osmosis, a big word.
I know, watch out, right? But it's through this osmosis process through the disc end plates. Not that we need to get into too much of
the anatomy of that
anatomy here, but there is a blood supply. It's just very slow and it's not direct. And so anything with a poor blood supply is going to heal slower. Like if you ever get a cut in your mouth, how fast does that heal?
It's already healed.
Fast. Yeah. I mean, you blink and it's healed, right? And that's because the mouth is extremely vascularized. Another example of something that maybe isn't greatly vascularized is like meniscus tear. Those things don't usually heal on their own. They don't necessarily have to have pain, but a meniscus in your knee, it doesn't have a vascular supply, so a lot of times it won't heal on its own. So it kind of comes back to you've got to be patient when you're dealing with a low back pain issue. You have to be consistent with maybe some different things that you identify that obviously agitate it or aggravate it, and continue to do things that kind of feel good for it, and then you have to do that over a period of time. Usually more like a 3 to 6 month period, and a lot of times if you're consistent over that period of time, you can eliminate your pain and really make sure that you're not having any kind of subsequent episodes.
Yeah, consistency is the key with that. Even when you think you're done, keep doing it, just to make sure. Because I mean, generally the things that make it feel better are, it's not like you're having to go out and move a car or something like that. Push a car with with your a stalled car or something that's really hard. It's generally things that are relatively easy. It's just dedicating the time to do it.
And so the overall theme of this podcast is your disc does heal. If you continue to put your body in better positions and really make sure that you have better symptom recognition. Again, things that drive your symptoms versus things that feel good for your symptoms. And you're consistent with that, you're going to feel better over a period of time. Actually, I had another point I was going to say there. Clearly, I forgot it.
Have you been painting with the windows open or closed?
Oh, they're closed.
Okay, good.
25 degrees outside, yeah, they're definitely closed.
So the paint fumes are really kind of...
Yeah, might be affecting my old noggin here. I think the other important thing is that a lot of the research about the discs being reabsorbed, they haven't been able to make a real big correlation yet to does physical therapy actually help that reabsorption. There's further studies. There haven't been a lot of good research out there to say, okay, if they do physical therapy, will it reabsorb? Is the rate higher? If they don't do physical therapy, is the rate lower? That data isn't out there yet. We haven't tested that yet. I can tell you from just kind of an anecdotal standpoint, just through my experience, is that people who continue to find or do activities that continue to agitate it or their pain in general are going to continue to have more sensitive tissue. Whether that tissue gets reabsorbed or not, again, we don't really know, but that tissue remains sensitive. And so the key here is going all the way back to everything that we always talk about here in our podcast is really kind of trying to define and getting through the weeds of the things that really agitate a patient's symptoms. For instance, I had a patient yesterday, and she could clearly define that, hey, when I was standing, my pain was worse, but when I was sitting, my pain was better. But on occasion, she would actually have more pain if she sat greater than 30 minutes or so and then her symptoms would actually increase. Well, she didn't know whether or not that had anything to do with where her back was in space, like what posture or positioning she was in. When we started talking about walking, as I noted she was walking, she was actually kind of bent forward a little bit. And when she described standing activities such as, doing dishes, maybe running the sweeper, those types of things, the vacuum, so it wasn't, she could clearly define that, occasionally when she was standing, she'd have more pain, and long-term sitting caused more pain, but she didn't really know why or how. And so it's continuing to, in terms of symptom recognition, is continuing to kind of work through those weeds. Is your pain greater when you're walking and you're a little bent forward, or what happens when you kind of walk in a really erect or upright position and your chest is kind of pointed, almost angled up a little bit? What happens when your symptoms, when you're walking in that regard? So, understanding your triggers and understanding what is really driving your symptoms is still really important, because even if the disc gets reabsorbed, which again we don't know whether or not really following these patterns specifically helps or doesn't, the assumption is that, in my assumption at least, is that there probably is some correlation. How high, I don't know. But regardless, even if the disc gets reabsorbed, but you're never actually letting the sensitivity of the tissue drop down because you're not avoiding any activities that are agitating the symptoms, then you're still going to continue to have pain. And that's where it's really still about what you experience, what you're experiencing on a regular basis, and the patterns of symptoms that are actually driving and relieving your symptoms. So you really have to continue to just kind of, look at that and kind of get into the weeds a little bit.
Yeah, it's just recognizing, to sum it up, too long didn't read. Sum up.
Did I ramble there? I didn't ramble.
Too long didn't read. Basically, find the things it's literally that dumb joke of, I went to the doctor and it said it hurts when I do this. Doctor says don't do this. So find the things that hurt. Adjust your posture and everything to see if you can find a position that makes it feel better. Stay there. It's not saying you can never bend forward or anything like that, but just try to minimize the amount of times you do it and all that kind of junk. And you have to just.
I just want to interject there. I joke around with patients a lot, about that whole joke of, hey, if it hurts, don't do it, because I talk to patients a lot about that. And I read an article the other day that I thought was interesting, where they're actually pointing out that that's one of the worst pieces of advice ever, and that's kind of a cop-out. let me be clear when I say if it hurts, don't do it. That's not necessarily what we mean. Okay?
No.
What we mean is take a look at what you're doing. Look at how you're doing that activity. See if we can modify it and adjust it, either by changing body positions, getting better body mechanics, better ergonomics, or getting closer if it's a reaching issue, getting closer to that object that you're reaching. It's about modifying the activity so that it doesn't hurt and being aware that that is one of your triggers. And worst case scenario is, cut it out for a period of time. But that's the caveat to that is for a period of time. We don't want to remove all activities or a painful activity forever. It's one of those things where your body just may need a break. And if you can't modify that activity, then yes, maybe you do need to eliminate it for a bit if possible, but it's not necessarily forever. So when we preach, if it hurts, don't do it. We're not saying just cut it out. It's more about, okay, what am I really doing? What in this activity is really hurting, and can we change it in a specific way that's unique to me or specific to me, so that it doesn't agitate the symptoms?
Right.
And I think that's just a really important point to make. Is we're not telling you not to do anything. It's just we may want you to change how you do it. Yeah.
Don't not do the thing. You still have to live your life and do the things. You just have to modify the way that you're doing it.
Mm-hmm. And ultimately, again, the research is a little thin in terms of will that help the disc continue to reabsorb quicker. We don't have that answer, but
I would argue that it wouldn't matter. It would. Even if you do it, and we don't have evidence that it helps or it doesn't help, that it's not going to hurt.
Oh yeah, listen. One of the things I also discuss with people is just set your body up for success. So, if this is a provocative type of activity, if you identify something as a provocative activity and you just keep pushing through it, is that going to make the tissue more sensitive? Is that going to make the disc bulge worse? We don't know. We can tell you anecdotally that through experience and through some research that yes, it will make the pain worse. We don't know if it'll make the disc bulge worse, but obviously if the pain and the disc bulge at this point in time is related, then the assumption is that if you can avoid some of those things, then it may allow that disc to be placed in a better position, or the spine to be placed in a better position, I guess I should say, to be reabsorbed. And so, I'm comfortable making that jump, but again, just so that our listeners understand, the research is thin in that.
Yes.
In my experience, I'm very comfortable making that jump, but I can't say that it's supported great by research at this point.
Yeah, at best, it might, if it does do anything, it might shorten your healing time.
Yeah. Well, and certainly it's going to shorten your pain, the amount of pain you're having, because you are avoiding that provocative position, which, as we
that's
know,
overall the goal anyway.
Yeah, and as we know overall from the pain, how we understand pain, the more you create a negative input to the brain, the more sensitive that tissue is going to become. So if you can avoid that negative input to the brain, then and just kind of flood it with positive movements, things that feel good, then the sensitivity of the tissue will actually start to drop, and your tolerance level to different activities will increase.
Yeah, I think that about sums it up.
Yeah, I think so. Hopefully this was hopefully I didn't get too deep into the weeds. Maybe I did on my little rambling, but who knows?
I mean, the overall long and short of it is discs and heel on their own. Physical therapy may or may not help, but doing the watching your P's and Q's with all of your things throughout life that will make it worse, kind of trying to modify the things that make it not, and just keep doing that for at least 4 to 6 months, past your pain, even if I always tell patients, like, you might want to keep doing this long after, you don't have pain, just to make sure your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted.
Yeah. And one of the things I kind of just an analogy that I make is, the longer you get away from your last incident of pain, the more likely that your pain isn't going to return. So in other words, if you're a runner and you've got knee pain and you wait 2 days versus 2 weeks versus 2 months until until after the knee pain has gone away. You're more likely to have knee pain again after the 2 days. You're less likely after 2 weeks. And if you're waiting 2 months, and you haven't had knee pain for an entire 2 months, the likelihood of it returning is probably even less. So, I think that's something that we need to try to think about when we're trying to treat our back, or when we're trying to do some avoidance and activity management, is keep up with those activities and trying to be cognizant of what you're doing as long as you can. At some point, you're going to get out of that routine, but if you can do it for 2 weeks after you haven't had any pain, or 2 months after not having any pain, then the likelihood of it returning is less.
Yep, I think that sums it up.
Yep. I guess this is always kind of a controversial topic. So if anybody does have any questions, they can always email us at, I have no idea what our email address is. That's your thing, man.
DIYtherapy206@gmail.com. If any questions about any of these kind of things. So more than happy to answer any questions if we didn't address anything specific. You got anything else? All right, I'll wrap it up.
No, sir. Hey, you seen anything good lately? Have you watched anything good?
We did go see Wreck-It Ralph with the kids.
Oh, yeah.
It was...
Worth it?
Huh?
Is it worth it?
It was good. It was good. It was pretty... It was not as terrible a use of the internet as I've seen in the past. It was... At least in like a computer form where like the digital characters go to the internet, where it's like, like the Emoji Movie, which was, blatant. Yeah. When they go to it's in the trailer where the little one meets the Disney princesses is pretty funny. That little whole scene is pretty funny. I did not tell you this, but there was there was like a chat of people asking questions. So the scene opens with somebody asking at a microphone, asking a question, saying, "Now in episode whatever, this happened and this happened and this happened," and then it pans to the person who's answering the question, and it's Baby Groot, and it just says, "I am Groot," and the guy goes, "Oh, okay."
Oh yeah, makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. So definitely a good one for the kids, though, huh?
Yes.
I think I'm going to try to watch the Mission Impossible movie this afternoon or this weekend. The new one.
Yes, with Superman.
Yes. Your love interest? Your man crush?
Tell me why I shouldn't be man crushing on him.
I don't know. I mean, he is a gorgeous man if I'm talking just from a pure
aesthetics, yeah.
Aesthetic standpoint.
I mean, I don't know what his personality is like, but so I mean,
it could be awful. Who knows?
Yeah, he probably is.
I mean, it's got to be better than ours. Right? Everything's an upgrade from us. So
yeah.
It's got to be pleasant to talk to.
I mean, he's an actor, so he probably could fake it.
Good call. All right, let's wrap this up.
This podcast is
I gotta go paint.
Yeah, I know you do. Your wife is going to kill you if you don't finish it. She's also going to kill you when you fight. Yeah, that's the bigger problem, I think. You come home. She's going to come home. You haven't painted anything, and you have a coffee stain on the rug, and she's going to be like, "What did you do?"
What it'll be is it literally the eyes will never leave the carpet. It will never go up to where I actually did something.
But look what I did. Look at the nice thing.
But look what you also did. And I'm painting my wife out in a horrible picture here, but she's really much better than I am.
This is literally anybody.
Yeah.
This is literally anybody.
I gotta go.
This podcast is for educational purposes only. It is not designed to diagnose or treat. When beginning any exercise program, it should be reviewed and discussed with your medical professional prior to beginning. Information on this podcast is not designed to replace medical treatment. Remember, treat yourself.